Hi there, Sandy here with another polymer clay video here at my YouTube channel and my blog. Today is the third in our series of Christmas charms, and we're going to be making this cute snowman. So to make this little snowman charm, you will need polymer clay in white, black, red, green, and orange. You'll also need a bit of flocking powder. You'll need a clay blade, a toothpick, an eye pin, a straight edge razor blade is helpful, a needle tool. You'll need some liquid clay, such as translucent liquid Sculpey, wire cutters, pliers. You'll need a scrap of an index card or just a piece of printer paper, and a little bowl, and also some baby wipes are helpful. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare our eye pin and set it aside. Just use your wire cutters to cut that off at about 1/4 inch below the eye, and then use your chain nose pliers to bend that into a hook. And just set that aside for the moment. Next, you want to take your flocking powder, and you can find this at the craft store. I bought this set with all these colors. And it's just a very fine powder. Now if you don't have flocking powder, you could coat your snowman with something like Perfect Pearl's mica powder. That would work too, but this just kind of gives it a cute fuzzy look. So just put your flocking powder in a bowl and again set that aside. Next, just take your liquid clay and put a small drop on your work surface. I like to work on one of these ceramic tiles. Next, we're going to take our white clay and roll out 2 balls for the snowman. The nice thing about covering the clay with flocking powder is that you don't have to keep it absolutely pristine. If there's any big chunks of something in there, take them out, but little bits of lint won't show through the clay. And then just roll it until you have a nice neat ball. For the bottom of the snowman, you want about a 3/8 inch, about a 9 or 10 millimeter ball. And I'm just using the palm of my hand. It's kind of small to put in between, but you can do that as well, until I have a nice round ball. And then for his head, you just want a slightly smaller ball, maybe a little bit over 1/4 inch. Take your toothpick and add just a little dab of liquid clay to a spot on one of the balls and push the two together. Now as liquid clay sits, it'll get more tacky and hold better, so we're just going to set this aside for a minute. Now you can decide if you'd like your snowman to have a red hat brim or a green hat brim, whichever hat brim color you want. Choose that. You're going to roll that and the black clay into logs that are the same size, the same diameter. There's a cool little trick here. Instead of trying to wrap a hat brim around, it's so tiny it's hard to do. We're going to do it a clever way. Cut off an end of each of the log in a straight cut, and then push those together. And then roll them a little on your work surface just to meld them. Bring them down to about 1/4 inch in diameter, or a little bit less. And now use your blade to cut just a little bit of that green. So there's your hat brim. And then you can cut off and leave a bit more of the black, depending on how tall you want his hat to be. Now roll about 1/4 inch or a little bit smaller ball of black clay into a ball, and use your scrap of paper or index card to flatten that. Don't flatten it too thin, just a little bit, so that's a little too big. If you're not sure how big you want your hat brim, you can always hold it up to your snowman to see if it's too big or small. That's good. And then you can place the hat brim right on the base of the hat. The hat band, excuse me, not brim. Just kind of tap it on there a little and soften that cut edge. And now take your hook that we made. Hold it with your chain nose pliers, hold it by the loop, and press it into the top of the hat. And you can kind of squeeze that a little around the loop, and now when it's baked, that hook is embedded and it won't come out. So use your blade to take that up off your work surface and set that aside. Next, take your orange clay and just roll it into a bit of a teardrop in your fingers, just like this. Use your needle tool, if you like, to add a few lines around it, and then use your blade to cut off a piece. This is probably far longer than we need, but we can cut it off after baking. Now take a baby wipe out of your container and set it off to the side. You're going to need it in a minute. Take some of your liquid clay and your snowman now, and now that it's been sitting for a few minutes, the head should be pretty firmly stuck to the body. And use your fingers to rub all over the snowman with the liquid clay. We want to make it tacky. The flocking will stick to the clay while it's sticky and unbaked, but then it won't stick so well after baking. So this liquid clay will make it stick. So make sure you cover the whole thing, and then drop it into the bowl of flocking, and right away pick up your baby wipe and wipe your fingers. And then you can just shake that around in the flocking until it's thoroughly coated. So now you can take these three pieces, the hat, the nose, and the snowman body, bake them for about 30 minutes at the manufacturer's recommended temperature. While we're waiting for those pieces to bake, we can go ahead and make a scarf. So take the color you want for the scarf. I'm using red and green traditional colors, but you can certainly make yours any colors you want. And roll out a snake. It's about 1/8 of an inch in diameter. That's far more than I need. And use your scrap of paper again to flatten that out. The reason we use the paper is it helps keep our fingerprints off it, makes it nice and smooth, and also keeps it from sticking to our fingers. And use your blade to trim that to about 1/8 of an inch wide. And then trim the ends so it's a little over 1.5 inches long. And then use your single edge blade just to fringe the ends. It's these little details that make it really cute. Use your clay blade to scoop that up off the surface and flip it upside down. Put it wrong side up. Now we have our pieces out of the oven, all baked. And the first thing we need to do is decide if there's one side that looks better, that you would prefer to be the front. And then take your blade, and you're going to do a little snowman surgery and just trim a section off his head. This is where his hat will go. And I'm going to make it at an angle because I want his hat to go at an angle. Like that. You can take off more or less. I recommend actually making several, and then you can do some experimenting and see what you like best. Next, we're going to take our black, and we're going to roll tiny, 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 tiny bits of black. These will be for his eyes. If you're not sure if you got them small enough, you can take your needle tool, pick one up and hold it up to his face and see if you think if it's small enough. If it needs to be smaller, what you can do is roll it out into a snake and then cut it in half and see if that's the right size. And just keep experimenting until you have the size that you think works for you. Next, take your toothpick and add just a little dab of the liquid clay in each of the spots where you want the eyes to go. You want to add enough here so that it will soak into the flocking and help it stick to the clay, but not so much that it's all goopy. And then pick up each eye with your needle tool and just kind of press it in. And you can use the needle tool to rough it up, and that will make it look a bit more like coal. And if a bit of the flocking gets in there after you bake it, you can touch it up with a black Sharpie. Again, take your toothpick and apply a line of your liquid clay to the back side of your scarf. Make sure you get the ends. We want those stuck down so they don't catch on things. And then lay your snowman right over the scarf, centered with it between his head and his body. And use your blade to lift up one end and just flip it over, and then repeat on the other side. And just gently pat it in place. Next, take your carrot nose and just hold it up, see if you like the size, dip the end in the liquid clay and add it to his face. So cute. And then kind of hold on to the bottom of his body from the front and the back so you don't squish the scarf. And add more liquid clay to the top of his head. And then you can add on his hat. Now, as I said, liquid clay on baked clay takes a moment. It'll get a little tacky after a bit, so it may fall off. If you put too much on and it's slippery, it will. So you may want to hold it on there for a moment. And then there he is. You can place him on a piece of card and bake him for 45 minutes at the manufacturer's recommended temperature. And so here are several little snowmen that I've made. Aren't they cute? They're a lot of fun. You can make them into earrings, pendants, or you can make the others in this series and make yourself a charm bracelet. So I hope you've enjoyed this project and that you'll give it a try. If you like this video, give it a like and share it with your friends. You can follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, and on my blog. Happy creating. Bye-bye.